The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of Kensington Palace as Prince William sat at his desk, reviewing the day's schedule. His wife Catherine was in the garden with their children, Prince George and Princess Charlotte, who were laughing as they chased butterflies among the roses. The sound of their joy made William smile, but his attention was quickly drawn back to the papers before him. "Your Royal Highness," came a gentle knock at the door. It was James, his private secretary, holding a thick folder of correspondence. "We have some interesting requests for your consideration today." William gestured for him to enter. James had been with the royal household for years and had a knack for identifying which invitations and requests deserved serious consideration. As he settled into the chair across from William's desk, his expression suggested something particularly noteworthy was among the day's mail. "There's been a request from a charity organization," James began, opening the folder. "They're planning a special fundraising concert for disadvantaged youth across Britain. The event is meant to raise awareness about mental health support for young people, particularly those from difficult backgrounds." William's interest was immediately piqued. Mental health advocacy had become one of his primary focuses, and any initiative supporting young people was close to his heart. He and Catherine had spent considerable time visiting youth centers and speaking with teenagers about the challenges they faced. "What makes this request special?" William asked, leaning forward slightly. James smiled. "The headline act is One Direction. They've agreed to perform for free, and all proceeds will go directly to youth mental health programs. The organizer specifically requested your and the Duchess's presence, believing it would significantly boost both attendance and donations." One Direction. William had heard the name countless times. The British-Irish boy band had taken the world by storm, and their music seemed to follow him everywhere. He'd heard their songs playing in shops, seen their faces on magazine covers, and witnessed the absolute devotion of their fans firsthand during various public appearances. Young people would often mention them in conversations, and he noticed how their music brought genuine happiness to so many. "They're quite popular, aren't they?" William said, though it was more of a statement than a question. "Incredibly so, sir. Harry Styles, Niall Horan, Louis Tomlinson, Liam Payne, and Zayn Malik have millions of fans worldwide. Their influence on young people is remarkable, and they've been increasingly involved in charitable work." William thought about his brother Harry, who had always been more in tune with popular culture. Prince Harry would probably know every One Direction song by heart, and could tell him all about their individual personalities and achievements. William made a mental note to call him later for advice. Just then, Catherine appeared in the doorway, still wearing her gardening gloves and with a smudge of soil on her cheek. "Sorry to interrupt," she said with a warm smile. "George is asking if Daddy can come see the caterpillar he found." "Of course," William said, but then paused. "Actually, Catherine, James has brought us an interesting opportunity. A charity concert featuring One Direction, focused on youth mental health." Catherine's eyes lit up immediately. She had always been passionate about early childhood development and mental health initiatives. One Direction? The children at the center we visited last month wouldn't stop talking about them. They seemed to know every word of every song. James nodded enthusiastically. "Precisely why this could be so impactful, Your Royal Highness. The band's fanbase consists largely of teenagers and young adults, exactly the demographic that often struggles with mental health issues, but hesitates to seek help." Catherine removed her gardening gloves, her interest clearly growing. "When would this event take place?" 3 weeks from today, at Wembley Stadium. The organizers have already sold out the venue, which seats 90,000 people. The demand was so overwhelming that tickets sold out within minutes. William exchanged a glance with Catherine. They both understood the significance of such massive public interest. An event of this scale, with their participation, could raise unprecedented funds and awareness for mental health support. "What would be expected of us?" Catherine asked, always practical about understanding their role in any public engagement. "The organizers hope you might present the band with a special recognition for their charitable contributions. Perhaps say a few words about the importance of mental health support for young people, and simply be present to show royal support for the cause. William stood up and walked to the window, looking out at his children who were now sitting quietly examining something in the grass. The responsibility of representing the crown while genuinely supporting causes that mattered weighed on him daily. This seemed like a perfect alignment of duty and personal passion. 2 days after receiving the invitation, William found himself in his brother Harry's apartment, surrounded by coffee cups and what appeared to be every One Direction album ever released. Prince Harry had responded to William's call with characteristic enthusiasm and had immediately declared himself the perfect person to educate his older brother about proper music. "Right, listen to this," Harry said, pressing play on his sound system. The opening notes of What Makes You Beautiful filled the room. This was their breakthrough single. Absolute genius, really. Listen to how it builds. William tried to focus on the music, but he found himself more fascinated by Harry's obvious expertise. His younger brother was singing along, complete with what appeared to be choreographed hand movements. "How do you know all of this?" "William, they're British. Well, mostly British. One of them is Irish, but the point is they represent us on the global stage. Plus, I may have attended one of their concerts," Harry admitted with a slightly embarrassed grin. "You went to a One Direction concert?" William couldn't hide his amusement. "Research purposes only," Harry said defensively, though his smile suggested otherwise. "I needed to understand what all the fuss was about. And honestly, it was incredible. The energy, the connection with the audience, the way they made every single person in that stadium feel like the music was personally for them." As the music continued, Harry explained each band member's personality and role. Harry Styles is the charming one with the curly hair. Women absolutely adore him, but he's quite thoughtful in interviews. Neil is the Irish one, plays guitar, seems genuinely lovely. Lewis is the joker of the group, very quick-witted. Liam is considered the responsible one, and Zayn is the mysterious, artistic type. William absorbed this information, realizing that understanding the individuals would be crucial for any meaningful interaction. What should Catherine and I expect from them personally? They're surprisingly professional, for what I've read. Despite being young and incredibly famous, they seem to handle themselves well in formal situations. They've met various dignitaries and always appear respectful and engaged. Meanwhile, back at Kensington Palace, Catherine was conducting her own research in a very different way. She had arranged to visit a local youth center where she knew One Direction's music was popular among the teenagers. Her approach was always to understand the real impact of whatever cause or event she was supporting. Mrs. Williams called out Sophie, a 16-year-old who had been attending the center for 2 years. "Are you really going to meet One Direction?" Word had somehow leaked about the possible royal attendance at the concert, and Catherine found herself surrounded by excited teenagers, all eager to share their thoughts about the band. "We're considering it," Catherine replied carefully. "But I'm curious about what their music means to you personally." The response was overwhelming. Story after story poured out about how One Direction songs had helped these young people through difficult times. Emma, 17, explained how Stronger had given her courage during her parents' divorce. Marcus, 15, shared how the band's positive messages had helped him resist pressure to join a local gang. "Their songs aren't just music," explained Jessica, 18. "They're like having friends who understand what you're going through. When Harry sings about being beautiful no matter what, or when they sing about dreams coming true, it makes you believe things can get better." Catherine listened intently, making mental notes about the genuine emotional connection these young people had with the band. This wasn't just teenage infatuation. It was something deeper and more meaningful. Dr. Sarah Chun, the center's counselor, approached Catherine privately. "Your Royal Highness, I've been working with young people for 15 years, and I've never seen a musical act have such a consistently positive influence. These boys sing about friendship, perseverance, and self-acceptance. In a world where young people are bombarded with negative messages, One Direction offers hope." That evening, William and Catherine sat in their private sitting room, comparing notes from their respective research sessions. The children were asleep, and They had time to properly discuss the opportunity before them. Harry thinks they're genuinely good people, William reported. Professional, respectful, and surprisingly mature for their age. He's convinced that meeting them would be a positive experience for us and beneficial for the causes we support. Catherine nodded thoughtfully. The young people I spoke with today have such deep connections to their music. It's not superficial at all. These songs are helping teenagers cope with real challenges: depression, family problems, social anxiety. If our presence at this concert can amplify that positive message and raise more money for mental health support, I think we should do it. William reached for her hand. I was thinking the same thing. James mentioned that the event organizers have agreed to arrange a private meeting before the concert, so we could get to know them personally before the public appearance. That sounds perfect, Catherine agreed. I'd like to understand more about their charitable work and what drives their commitment to helping young people. As they finalized their decision to attend, neither William nor Catherine could have imagined how this choice would lead to one of their most memorable and meaningful royal engagements, or how 5 young men from modest backgrounds would leave such a lasting impression on the future King and Queen of England. The day of the concert arrived with typical London unpredictability. Rain had been falling steadily since dawn, but as William and Catherine's motorcade approached Wembley Stadium, the sun broke through the clouds, casting everything in a golden light that seemed almost orchestrated for the occasion. Inside their car, Catherine smoothed her navy blue dress, chosen specifically because several young people had mentioned it was Harry Styles' favorite color. William wore a simple dark suit, having decided against anything too formal after Harry's advice that the band appreciated when people dressed down rather than up. Nervous? Catherine asked, noticing William's unusually quiet demeanor. A bit, actually, he admitted. It's strange. I've met world leaders, given speeches to thousands of people, but the thought of meeting 5 young men who sing pop music has me more anxious than usual. Catherine smiled understandingly. I think it's because this matters in a different way. We're not just representing the crown today. We're stepping into their world, and we want to get it right for all those young people who will be watching. As they arrived at the stadium, the energy was immediately palpable. Despite the rain, thousands of fans have been queuing since early morning, many wearing handmade T-shirts with messages of love for both the band and the royal couple. Signs reading, "Thank you, William and Kate," and "Royals love 1D" were everywhere. Sarah Martinez, the event coordinator, met them at the private entrance. She was a warm woman in her 40s who had been organizing charity events for over 2 decades. "Your Royal Highnesses, thank you so much for making this possible." The response has been beyond our wildest expectations. As they walked through the corridors beneath the stadium, Sarah explained the logistics of the evening. "The boys arrived an hour ago and have been asking questions about you both. They seem genuinely excited, though I think they're as nervous as you might be." The private meeting room had been set up simply, with comfortable chairs arranged in a circle and a table with tea, coffee, and what appeared to be homemade biscuits. "Neil's grandmother sent those," Sarah explained, noting Catherine's glance at the biscuits. "He thought you might appreciate a taste of Ireland." The door opened, and 5 young men entered with their management team. William's first impression was how remarkably normal they seemed. No dramatic entrances or pop star attitudes, just 5 polite young men who immediately stood straighter when they saw the royal couple. Harry Styles stepped forward first, his famous curls slightly damp from the rain. "Your Royal Highnesses, it's an incredible honor to meet you." His voice was warm and genuine, with a slight nervousness that made him even more endearing. Each band member introduced himself personally. Neil's Irish accent was charming as he offered the biscuits his grandmother had made. Lewis made a self-deprecating joke about his nerves that broke the initial tension. Liam spoke earnestly about their charitable work, while Zayn, despite his reputation for being quiet, asked thoughtful questions about the mental health initiatives they were supporting. "Please sit," Catherine said warmly. "We've been looking forward to this conversation." What followed was one of the most unexpected and delightful royal encounters either William or Catherine had experienced. The young men were articulate, passionate, and remarkably mature when discussing serious topics. The thing is, Harry Styles explained, we know how much influence we have on young people. Our fans tell us their problems, their hopes, everything. We get letters from kids saying our music helped them through their parents' divorce, or gave them confidence to stand up to bullies, or even helped them decide not to hurt themselves. Liam nodded seriously. It's a massive responsibility. We write songs about friendship and believing in yourself because we remember what it was like to be teenagers feeling lost or different. Neil added, when we heard about this concert, we didn't hesitate. Mental health support for young people isn't just a good cause, it's essential. We see firsthand how much young people are struggling. William found himself genuinely impressed by their maturity and awareness. How do you handle that level of responsibility at such young ages? Lewis laughed, but not dismissively. Some days better than others, honestly. But we have each other, and we have good people around us. Plus, when you see a 14-year-old girl crying because your song helped her feel less alone, you realize this is bigger than just entertainment. Catherine leaned forward, her professional interest in child development evident. Have you received training on how to handle the serious situations fans share with you? Zayn spoke up, surprising everyone with his insight. We've worked with counselors and mental health professionals. We've learned to recognize when fans need more help than a song can provide, and we try to connect them with proper resources. The conversation flowed naturally from there, covering everything from their individual backgrounds to their future plans beyond music. William was particularly struck by how they supported each other, frequently building on each other's responses and showing genuine care for one another's well-being. We understand if this feels unusual for you, Liam said at one point. Pop stars aren't typically part of royal events. William shook his head. Actually, what's unusual is how comfortable this feels. You're using your platform to help people, which is exactly what we try to do. The methods might be different, but the goal is the same. As their private meeting time drew to a close, Harry Styles asked a question that caught them both off guard. Is there anything we should know about royal protocol for tonight? We want to make sure we represent you well, too. Catherine smiled broadly. Just be yourselves. That's clearly working quite well for you. As they prepared to leave the room, Neil approached Catherine shyly. Your Royal Highness, would it be terribly inappropriate if I asked you to try one of my Grand's biscuits? She'll be watching tonight, and it would mean the world to her. Catherine accepted the biscuit with genuine warmth, taking a proper bite rather than just politely pretending. These are absolutely delicious. Please tell your grandmother she has a gift. The joy on Neil's face was radiant, and William realized that this young man would treasure this moment for the rest of his life. As evening approached, Wembley Stadium transformed into something magical. The rain had stopped completely, and 90,000 fans filled every seat, creating a sea of excitement that could be felt even in the royal box high above the crowd. William and Catherine had been given a perfect vantage point, close enough to see everything clearly, but positioned to avoid disrupting the concert experience for the paying audience. The opening acts had been energetic and engaging, but the anticipation for One Direction was unlike anything either royal had experienced. The crowd's energy was building to what felt like an electric crescendo, and when the lights finally dimmed for the main event, the roar was absolutely deafening. I don't think I've ever heard anything quite like that, William said to Catherine, who was watching the crowd's reaction with fascination. Look at their faces, she replied, pointing to the fans nearest to their box. This isn't just entertainment for them. This is genuinely meaningful. The stage erupted in lights and smoke, and One Direction appeared to screams so loud they seemed to shake the stadium's foundation. What struck William immediately was how the 5 young men they had met earlier transformed on stage. Gone was any hint of nervousness or uncertainty. In its place was pure confidence, joy, and an almost magical connection with their audience. They opened with Live While We're Young, and the entire stadium became a unified celebration. Fans sang every word, danced without inhibition, and created an atmosphere of pure happiness that was infectious even from the royal box. "They're really quite good, aren't they?" William found himself saying, genuinely surprised by their stage presence and vocal abilities. Between songs, Harry Styles addressed the crowd. "London, we have some very special guests with us tonight," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the stadium's sound system. "We're honored to have their Royal Highnesses Prince William and Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, here supporting mental health awareness for young people." The camera found William and Catherine in their box, and they waved to acknowledge the crowd's cheers. What happened next surprised everyone. Instead of the typical polite applause such moments usually received, the crowd erupted in genuine, sustained appreciation. Signs appeared throughout the audience reading, "Thank you for caring," and "Royals who understand us." Catherine felt genuinely moved by the response. These young people weren't just being polite to royalty. They were expressing real gratitude for the attention being given to mental health issues that affected them personally. As the concert continued, both William and Catherine found themselves drawn into the experience. Lewis made them laugh with his between-song banter. Neil's guitar skills were genuinely impressive, and Liam's vocal range was remarkable. Zayn's solo moments were hauntingly beautiful, and Harry's stage presence was captivating without being overwhelming. During What Makes You Beautiful, something unexpected happened. The band had clearly rehearsed a special moment, and Harry spoke directly to the royal box. "Your Royal Highnesses, this song is about recognizing the beauty in everyone, especially those who might not see it in themselves. That message feels particularly important tonight, given why we're all here." The performance of that song became something transcendent. The crowd sang along with such unity and passion that it became less of a concert and more of a collective affirmation of hope and self-acceptance. Catherine found herself genuinely emotional, thinking about all the young people she had met who struggled with self-worth and mental health challenges. The technical aspects of the show were flawless, but what impressed William most was how the band managed to make such a massive venue feel intimate. They spoke to the crowd like friends, shared personal stories, and created moments of genuine connection that reached every person in the stadium. During a quieter moment, when Neil performed a solo acoustic version of Little Things, the stadium fell completely silent except for his voice and guitar. The intimacy was remarkable, and William realized he was witnessing something special about the band's ability to create emotional connection through music. "They're artists," Catherine whispered to William during the applause that followed. "This isn't just pop music. They're creating experiences that matter to people." The concert's midpoint brought the evening's most significant moment. The band invited William and Catherine onto the stage to present them with a special recognition from the charity organization. As they walked onto the massive stage, the crowd's response was overwhelming but respectful. Standing before 90,000 people with One Direction beside them, William felt the full impact of what they had accomplished. This wasn't just a concert, it was a movement. Young people who might never attend a mental health awareness event were learning about resources and support because their favorite band cared enough to use their platform for good. Catherine spoke briefly about the importance of mental health support, her words carrying clearly through the stadium. "Tonight proves that when we come together, when we support each other, we can make a real difference in young people's lives." Harry Styles then did something that would be remembered by everyone present. He asked the entire stadium to participate in a moment of appreciation for anyone in their lives who had helped them through difficult times. The response was a sustained cheer that seemed to come from every person's heart. As William and Catherine returned to their box, they carried with them a new understanding of the power of music to bring people together for meaningful purposes. The remainder of the concert felt like a celebration not just of music, but of community, support, and hope. The band's final song, Best Song Ever, became exactly that for many in attendance. As 90,000 voices joined together in the closing moments, William and Catherine exchanged a look that said everything. This had been far more than they had expected, and far more meaningful than they could have imagined. After the final encore, as 90,000 fans slowly filed out of Wembley Stadium with faces glowing from an unforgettable evening, William and Catherine made their way backstage for what had become an anticipated reunion with One Direction. The energy backstage was a fascinating contrast to the massive spectacle they had just witnessed. Controlled chaos mixed with exhausted euphoria. The five band members were still coming down from the performance high, their faces flushed with sweat and satisfaction. Despite having just performed for nearly 2 hours, they immediately straightened up and showed the same respectful attention they had demonstrated during their earlier private meeting. "That was absolutely incredible," Catherine said genuinely as they gathered in the backstage area. "The connection you have with your audience is remarkable." Harry Styles, still catching his breath, smiled broadly. "Thank you so much for being here. Having you on stage with us, supporting this cause, it made the whole evening feel more important somehow." Sarah Martinez, the event coordinator, approached with preliminary numbers that made everyone stop and listen. "I wanted to share these figures while we're all together," she said, consulting her tablet. "Tonight's concert has raised over £2 million for youth mental health services." The silence that followed was profound. Even One Direction, accustomed to impressive statistics about their success, seemed stunned by the impact of the evening. £2 million, Liam repeated slowly. "Do you realize how many young people that can help?" William nodded, genuinely moved. "That figure represents counseling sessions, support programs, crisis intervention services, and hope for thousands of young people who might otherwise go without help." Lewis, typically the joker of the group, was unusually serious. "When we started this band, we just wanted to make music people enjoyed. We never imagined we'd be part of something like this." Zayn spoke up, his quiet voice carrying weight. "This changes how I think about what we do. Every concert, every song, every interaction with fans, it all matters more than we realized." Catherine had been watching the band members throughout this conversation, noting how they processed the significance of their impact. "You should know that the young people we've met in various youth centers speak about your music as more than entertainment. Your songs provide comfort, encouragement, and hope during difficult times." Neil, still energized despite the long performance, stepped forward. "Your Royal Highnesses, could I ask you something? Would you be willing to visit some of the programs that tonight's fundraising will support? Not for publicity, but because the young people there would benefit from knowing that people in your position genuinely care about their well-being." The request was so earnest and thoughtful that William immediately understood why these young men had achieved such remarkable success. Behind all the fame and adoration was a genuine desire to make a positive difference. "We'd be honored," William replied without hesitation. "In fact, we'd like to propose something in return. Would you consider joining us for some of those visits? Your presence will mean everything to those young people." The band members exchanged glances, a silent communication that spoke to their close friendship. Harry answered for the group. "Absolutely. We want to see firsthand how tonight's efforts will help people." As the evening began to wind down, the conversation shifted to more personal territory. The formal barriers that had existed at the beginning of the evening had completely dissolved, replaced by mutual respect and genuine friendship. "Can I tell you something?" Catherine said to the group. "Before tonight, I thought of you as talented young men who sang popular music. Now I see you as partners in work that genuinely matters. You've changed my understanding of how influence can be used for good." Prince Harry would have been absolutely delighted to know that his older brother then asked, "Would you mind if I got some of your music for my children? They're still quite young, but I think when they're older, they should understand the positive messages you share." The band's reaction to this request was endearing. They immediately began discussing which songs would be most appropriate for young children and promised to send a carefully curated collection. As they prepared to part ways, each band member took a moment to speak privately with William and Catherine. These brief conversations revealed the depth and maturity that had impressed the royal couple throughout the evening. Harry Styles thanked them for making this feel important beyond the music. Neil shared his gratitude for Catherine's genuine enjoyment of his grandmother's biscuits, which had clearly meant more to him than any professional compliment. Lewis expressed appreciation for their willingness to step into our world without judgment. Liam spoke about his hopes for future collaborations on youth-focused initiatives. Zayn, in his characteristic quiet intensity, simply said, "Thank you for seeing us as more than just pop stars." The final image of the evening was unexpectedly touching. As William and Catherine prepared to leave, the 5 band members spontaneously lined up to shake hands in a formal farewell that showed their respect for royal protocol, but their smiles and warmth revealed that this had become something much more personal than a typical royal engagement. During the car ride back to Kensington Palace, William and Catherine sat in comfortable silence for several minutes, processing what they had experienced. "That was special," William finally said. "Not just the concert or the fundraising success, but meeting those young men. They're using their gifts responsibly, and they genuinely care about making a difference." Catherine nodded thoughtfully. "I keep thinking about something Harry said earlier, about how their fans share everything with them. They carry the hopes and struggles of millions of young people, and they handle that responsibility with remarkable maturity." The evening had accomplished far more than anyone had anticipated. It raised significant funds for mental health services, brought attention to important issues affecting young people, and created an unexpected but meaningful connection between the royal family and 5 young men whose influence on popular culture was undeniable. Most importantly, it demonstrated that meaningful change could happen when people from different worlds united behind causes that mattered, regardless of their backgrounds or the paths that had brought them to positions of influence.